Hello, hello. Welcome to Meditation Nerd. Sorry, there's always a delay at the start of the lives. It shows as it's going live, not already live. So I wait till it says that. Half the time it's inaccurate. I don't know if that's giving me time to edit the first half or what. Anyway, welcome. I'm glad you're here. I hope you're doing well. Um, so today's Naked Pause, we're going to focus on old habits and patterns if we're noticing those arising. If this doesn't apply to you, feel free to just spend some time. Maybe you'll glean something for future use if you need it. If you do start to notice any old habits or patterns rather arising, um, this is going to be a somatic experience, and then we're going to shift focus from the old habits and patterns and how it feels. And then we're going to focus on ways that anything new that we've noticed as far as our approach. The reason I'm bringing this up is because I feel that this is something that's important that we talk about. I don't think that dismissing the arising of old habits and patterns is conducive to a healthy practice. I don't think that that helps anybody learn and grow or trust in their practice. Now, this could absolutely just be my own take on the matter. So if you feel differently, feel free to disregard what I'm saying. For me personally, I find it less trustworthy if this part of the conversation can't be had because this is a reality. Old habits and patterns from in my experience have come up. And um I don't see that as negative. I don't see it as me being a quote unquote bad meditator. I don't see it as any of that. It's just par for the course. Um, Now I have slid back into a couple of patterns that I'm super unthrilled with. I'm not looking forward to stepping back into these and sitting with all of the madness that they bring. So I'm not super thrilled about about the backslide, if you want to call it that way. So that's why I wanted to take some time today to sit with it and just talk a little bit about why I'm bringing this up because for me it's important. So I already tuned in. I did my meditations right before going live. I had some errands that I needed to get to before and just completely forgot to start my day with meditation. So feel free to go ahead and take this moment to do a traditional tune in if you would like to. I'm going to go ahead and just set the meditative space. We're just going to focus on our breath. So go ahead and inhale, exhale, settle into your meditative posture. Inhale, exhale, deepening the settling into the meditative posture. One more time, inhale. Okay. And then we're going to start by just noticing how the body feels. Okay, before we even get into anything else, just notice where you are starting from. Okay. I got some heaviness in my shoulders, my chest. I got some anxiety that's kind of flowing up, and my spine feels really tense. And I got some energy that's flowing pretty easily. My arms feel pretty light. My face keeps wanting to scrunch, so I'm putting some stress there. Overall, I feel pretty solid though, so that's nice. I feel nice and grounded in my meditative posture. I feel like I've set my boundary for this being a meditative space pretty solidly, so check on that. And if you need to take a couple more breaths to get you to feel more solid, please do so. Okay, so now we're going to move into and slowly bring to mind any old habits or patterns that you've noticed that have been arising. And it can be, simple things. It doesn't have to be large. And just notice what happens within your body. Notice how you're responding to others. Just kind of notice what the results are, right? as you're reflecting on these old habits and patterns. So, a couple insights I would like to share about my own habits and patterns. I'm noticing that I'm very much pulling away from others out of a sense of I don't want to perform anymore. I don't want to put up a mask. I don't want to engage in the theater of it anymore. So that's a positive negative here. I'm not super thrilled about pulling away from others. I am also proud of the fact that I'm no longer willing to engage in the performative aspect or throw up the masks because that just feels very heavy in my body. It feels very exhausting. I feel tired just even talking about that. But there is a sense of uplift at the fact that I'm no longer willing to do that. So I am also noticing that I am becoming very much more socially awkward, and that's embarrassing. I feel very embarrassed by that. It's nothing mean or cruel. It's luckily nothing like that. Just, basic silly blunders that I'm mishearing what's being said to me, and so I'm responding to something that wasn't said. It's embarrassing in that regard. So, I mean, nice that it's nothing super crazy, still embarrassing. So, and we'll be here for a few more breaths. So, please don't panic. And of course, honor your window of tolerance, honor your boundaries, stay as long as feels appropriate. Okay, one more breath here. Okay, and then we're going to gently shift. So treat this more as like you're stepping into a warm bath, right? You don't just flop in unless you want water everywhere. So treat this transition as the same. Okay, you're easing into it. Allow some elevating aspects of this to arise as well. So in my example, it was um, I feel more solid. I feel more self-respect at not being willing to engage in the performative aspect, even though I do struggle with, or while also struggling with pulling away from others, right? So there's a bit of a gap there between the two. However, there is, there's self-respect, there's an uplifting in that. So it can be something simple like that. It can be something like, oh, well, I caught myself here and I feel really good about that. And just notice the shift, right? Notice what happens within your body. Because this is equally important and more than likely it's also a part of the experience. We're not seeing it, right? And so one of mine is while I didn't catch it in the moment, it was immediately preceding the awkwardness. And so I reached back out for the work by Byron Katie to question my thoughts, to sit with it, because I noticed that I was fleeing from the feelings of embarrassment and humiliation. And I didn't want to do that. And I was working very, very hard to run from those feelings. So I reached for the work to really step in and sit with my thoughts, allow those emotions to flow up while doing the work by Byron Katie, because that really helps me anchor. So It can be reaching for something after the fact or sitting on your cushion in however whatever way that shows up for you to sit with it, right? That is an amazing thing. Even though we may want to catch it in the moment, sometimes we can't, and that's okay. So this is also a way to give us some grace, and that's important. Couple more breaths here. One more breath. Inhale, exhale. Okay, and then just let that go. Let both of those focal points go. Take a nice cleansing breath, just as open and clear as you can. Exhale. And now again, check back in with where you feel. Any shifts, any struggles, anything that was there that wasn't before or was and now is not. My spine feels a lot less tense. Oh, okay, well, there it goes. Now it's back to tension. Okay. Anxiety stayed with me throughout. It lessened, returned, lessened, returned. Shoulders feel a little bit lighter. There is more free moving of energy, so that's nice. Not squishing my face as much, so that's nice. And then feel free to tap just below the collarbones for any extra that you need a little bit of help letting go of or unclenching from, just as a way to let our nervous system know that it's okay, it's safe right here. And then I'm just gonna take one more breath while tapping the karate chop point, the sides of my hands together. Okay, so that helped my spine and my shoulders, and anxiety in my chest just does not want to go. Okay, and I'm gonna go ahead and say Satnam. Feel free to do the longer tune out if you would like. I don't want to hear my tone deafness right now. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for sitting with any old habits or patterns that are arising that you're struggling to allow for. Um, as I said at the start, I feel this is important to incorporate because, again, this is something that's natural and normal for me. Old habits and patterns have continued to rise and fall. I am definitely a person that needs to go through the different layers, the different phases. That seems to work best for me. I don't see that as a negative. I just see it as the way that I need to approach meditation. That's just the best way it works for me. This wasn't meant to, this was more about being able to bring that into the conversation. So if that's something that you're noticing as well, um, give yourself some grace and, sit with why it's bothering you so much. Maybe you are of a similar mind as I was when I first started, that, just it has to clear. Once you've meditated with it and you feel better, it just that's it, that's the end, right? You move on to whatever's next. Well, sometimes there's multiple layers that go with that. So give yourself some time, give yourself some grace. I wanted this to be, and I know I've come back to this a couple different times because, as I said, I feel this is important, and I I don't like that it feels like it kind of just gets blown past or excused away. I don't. didn't really want to do that. I just wanted to sit with it. I don't really want to justify or make excuses for. Yeah, I'm happy to share my experience and my perspective. I also think there should be spaces where it's okay to just sit with that, and it's okay to feel angry that it keeps coming up, or uncomfortable or ashamed or whatever's happening, right? Maybe you're excited to go through the cycle again. Maybe you're excited to see what you missed the first time. That's perfectly great. You know what I mean? All of it is welcome. All of it is part of the process. At least in my experience, feel free to share any experiences that you've had that were different, anything that you feel would be illuminating or a different point of reference. That would be great too. So that's all I have for you today. Thank you for joining me. I hope you found this helpful, and I'll see you next time.